Hi everyone, we're just going to kick off now in a second. Just before we start, can everybody hear us okay? Just want to add a comment in the section below. Brilliant, lovely, thank you. Okay, well thank you everybody for registering for today's webinar. With me is Simon McCabe, who is our CTO, so if you have any technical questions, he's well equipped to answer them for you.
Hi guys.
And for those of you who don't know, I'm Garrett Cronin, I'm the local government account manager here at IMGS. So just a quick brief overview of today's agenda. I can see from the attendees list that most people know who we are, but there's a few new people, so just to let you know who we are and who our customers are. We're going to give a brief overview on FME Server and Cloud, and then we're going to dive straight into the IMGS Mapping Portal. And then at the end, I'll just give you a couple of things to look out for coming in the future. So for those of you who don't know, IMGS, we've been around for nearly 15 years now in the Irish market. We've got partners like Hexagon Geospatial and Hexagon Safety and Infrastructure. And the reason why we're all here today is Safe Software, we're a gold partner. And then Talent, which is one of our newer partnerships who look after big data and data integration and data cleansing and master database management. Our customers, so we work with every local authority in the country, so every local authority is an FME customer, and then there's also a range of Hexagon Geospatial and Infrastructure customers in there as well. We also work with a lot of government agencies like the Navy, the Defence Forces, Med-Erin, EPA, to name just a few. And then we also work with most of the major utilities like Arvia, ESB, and Cyro, which is the new joint venture between ESB and Vodafone to bring fibre broadband to the home. Okay, so just a quick overview on FME. I won't spend too long on this because I know most people on the call will know about them. So it comes in three different flavors, their products, which are FME Desktop, FME Server, and FME Cloud. FME Desktop is the graphical tool that everybody uses in order to create the workspaces to transform or validate or inspect the data coming in or going out of their organization. FME Server is the enterprise tool, which gives you the ability to automate practically anything, and it is one of the key components working in the background of our mapping portal, which we're going to show later on. FME Server gives you the ability to generate HTML reports, to stream data, monitor events, and automate file submission and validation. FME Cloud, which is also compatible with our new portal, is basically the exact same. It's just a hosted version, but it has the benefits of not having to maintain a physical infrastructure. It's also scalable on demand. So the actual mapping portal itself. So we looked at FME Server, and it's a great tool, but we noticed that it didn't have a mapping element, and for non-GIS users, it can be a little bit difficult to navigate. And they also can't define an area of interest. So we collected some feedback from local authorities, and we focused, one of the main themes that came from it was the ability to be able to self-serve. And so that got us thinking about putting a front end to FME Server and to FME Cloud, and that's where we came up with this. So it's easy to configure that portal. It's driven through the workspace in the background, so you can easily switch between portals without having to code or do anything complicated like that. It works across any device with a web-enabled browser or with a data connection and a web browser, and it can support multiple deployments within your organization. So for example, you could have a pre-planning portal, a detailed spatial analysis portal for internal planners, for example, management reports portal if you wished. Like literally the possibilities are absolutely endless. So I'm going to hand it over to Simon, who's just going to dive straight in and give you a quick demonstration.
Thanks, Gareth. Okay, guys, hopefully you can all hear me. So I'm just going to minimize some of this stuff so I can see better. Right. So what you're looking at here is just the launching window. So when you first launch the site, it's kind of like a splash screen, a welcome to the site in essence. Everything you see in this site is configurable. So you see it says IMGS Mapping Portal, and it says, you know, this is to request a planning report, etc. That's all configurable. Any of the icons, logos, that kind of good stuff is all configurable to meet your requirements. So this is just one that I put together from an IMGS perspective, but that could be your branding, your message, etc. So what you do is the data I'm showing you here today, guys, is just it's not some real data, but some dummy data we have from Dún Laoghaire and Dublin City Council. But just to show you two different ways to get at the data and what you can do with it. Garrett may have mentioned it there. This is not the idea of this is not to replace your existing GIS. So this is GIS independent, if you like. So, and it's not supposed to be a GIS. It's just a self-serving portal to get at data. I know a lot of customers that I deal with have a lot of heartache with even with internal departments looking for access to data in different formats and time you would spend to try and get that data ready for them, etc. And this is an opportunity for you to give them something to lighten your workload. So what you have is just a very simple looking mapping interface here. I'm using OpenStreetMap at the moment. Down in the bottom left-hand corner, we have different types of mapping, and as I mentioned at the start, this is GIS independent. So Garrett would have mentioned that we're a Hexagon partner, but a lot of our customers use other vendors, Esri, etc. Some people don't even want to use something that like their maps. They want to use something like Google Street or Google Satellite. So we've put together a few different sample sets of maps you can use here, including Esri if that's what you want to use, if you're an Esri house, or Google Street, Google Satellite, etc. So you kind of have you're not limited to the mapping background or vendor you're using, which is good. You have the normal navigation type things up in the right-hand corner, zooming in, zooming out, going back to your default extent. The normal thing you would have, marquee zoom, and that kind of thing you would be used to using as a mapping user. But obviously what we're going to show you here is some of the capabilities to self-serve data, and this is from a spatial perspective. So what I'll do is I'll just show you, there's a button over here at the moment to draw a polygon. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just draw a polygon here, and it's just going to be, this demo is going to be very simple. When, if you're interested, obviously we can set up a more detailed demonstration at a later stage. So what I'm interested in here is the map that I have configured and the portal part, the FME workspace that I have configured through Server, is to generate a HTML report, and it's kind of like a pre-planning work we did with Dún Laoghaire. Obviously, this is in Dún Laoghaire. So the data you see here appear on the right-hand side. That's all driven through FME Server. So FME Server, we created a workspace with FME Desktop. We published it to Server, and we told that workspace, look, you are expecting 3 parameters. So I want you to pass in the name, the address, and a description. It's only a very simple data. But we also set up the workspace to say, we also expect a polygon. This allows you to spatially filter. So I'll just put in some basic details here. Put in my name. I'll just say IMGS here as my address, and the description is just a demo. Okay. So I'll hit my request data, and what happens is the polygon that you see on the screen and the name, address, and description is sent to FME Server to process the data. That was pretty quick. So I'll download my data.
So just to mention, that's 21 data sets in under 10 seconds that you're spatially assessed.
So I'm going to save this to Garrett's desktop. Okay, and I'll just open here. Extract. And this is going to extract it, and it's a HTML report. So I'm just going to double click this here. And this generates a nice report. Garrett mentioned it at the start, the HTML reports that FME Server and FME Desktop can provide access to. So you would have seen, I'll switch back here to my screen here. You would have seen that I put in my name, Simon, address, IMGS, and description as demo. I'll go back to the planning report that was generated. It's picked up Simon, IMGS, and demo. So that's all past information. And obviously the power behind this is really, Server is extremely powerful. FME Desktop and Server, etc., extremely powerful. So you can generate any kind of reports that you want. This is kind of an idea of a pre-planning report here. So there's the polygon that I generated. Now, if you're interested, you can zoom in and zoom out just to get a bit of context. We're giving you information here in this example on flood zones, whether you're near a flood zone, etc. Some heritage area information. This could be anything that you could be. This could be all your assets in a location. Show me my nearest. If it was a water system, show me my nearest bulk meters or district meters. It could be an electrical system. It could be planning system. Any kind of thing you want to report on, give a spatial report on. With the capabilities of Server, it's kind of endless. So I'm zooming down here, and then it kind of gives you a summary of all the areas, and there's a lot there. Again, All this tool tipping you see here that I'm clicking on, and you can see extra information, that's all done through FME Server. So that's nothing to do with the portal here. That's all done through FME Server, but what we've done is we've given you a nice way to get in at it and generate reports. So one of our customers has a very similar report to this that works in the background, kind of an automated process, so you don't have to come in via the portal. This generates every night, so there's kind of just two ways to get at it. Okay, hopefully that makes sense and I haven't gone through it too quick. As Garrett mentioned, this is you can deploy this to multiple instances. So you could have one for your planning department, one for your roads department. You could have one for public facing, that kind of good stuff. What we've done here is, in this demo, I'm just going to show you here, I've got a link to my FME server here, and I can pick a different workspace. So the one that I showed you here was kind of like a HTML report generating workspace, but I also want to show you that there's an ability to do a data download as well. So I'm going to load that workspace. And the data I'm going to show you here, guys, is just some data. It's just some dummy data we have here from Dublin City Council. So it's just an area I like to play in here. So again, it's the same kind of idea. And I don't know if I actually should have showed you this. When I switch my workspaces here, this button here, I'm going back to the planning one. I hope you can see this here. The right-hand side has changed. So this was the original one where it says name, post, address, description, etc. When I change over to my other workspace and load it, this automatically updates. Again, Garrett mentioned there's no need for coding, etc. So if you have someone who's proficient in FME, they can set this up. The kind of the configuration bit is quite simple. What they do in the background is the kind of key about how you do your spatial reports. But setting something like this up is very, very simple. I'm going to say I want some granted applications reviews and all these drop downs, etc. That's all done through FME Server. That's nothing to do with you don't have to come back to us and get request. Can I have a drop down? Can I have it going from this date to that? That's all configurable with FME Server. And then you can obviously choose different formats, and we just have 4 formats here that you can pick. So what I'll do is I'll just draw a polygon again. I'm going to try and keep this simple just so you can kind of get an idea. So there's the kind of polygon I'm interested in here. I'm going to say just for this example, I'm going to pick Excel, and I'm going to request some data. So I think this is kind of an interesting one because, some people can see GIS data as being very, the guy in the corner who does the maps, but a lot of the business people like to see reports in Excel, etc., so they can bring their data into their own systems. A lot of management like to see the data as a tabular format. So we can download that again. I'll save that here, open it up. Extract it. Here's my output. Here's some spatial data provided in non-spatial format, so you can get some information. I won't go through all that, but that's just, it's configured through FME as to what information is brought back. So it's very, very powerful. The other bit I'd show you here is that you can also, I'll close this here and I'll say, actually, what would be cool? My data could be stored in hexagon format, so GeoMedia format in the background. It could be SQL Server Spatial, it could be Oracle Spatial. But you know what? I'd like to have it in Esri. The guys in the roads department, just for example, use Esri. So give it to me in that format. Again, you're taking away the headache from your perspective as a kind of a GIS coordinator, someone asking you for this on a constant basis or ad hoc basis. So you can download that there. Again, show it here. I'm going to show you a couple more of these here. Now I have FME on my machine here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this with the Data Inspector to show you that the data can be downloaded. So you can see there's the data there, and you can click on it and you can get some information. The last one, the one that I think that a lot of it's cool. One of the other ones I'm going to show you here is just the Google aspect of it came out, so you can look at your 3D representation of it. And the data we're downloading now isn't in 3D, it's 2D, but we're going to show it that you could show it in a kind of in a 3D system. So we'll download that. Google Earth will open it. Look. We'll zoom in. Should be a drum roll here somewhere, I think. Okay, so there's the data there. So the data's been downloaded there, so you can zoom in and you can see it. And another one here, another one here. So it just shows that, you know, from your self-serving portal, you can give the user the flexibility to pick an area of interest that they want, download their data. You can set up a generic portal that have many workspaces to download. You can subgroup it. Now, we don't have it subgrouped here, but you could have one for different departments if that's what you so wish, etc. Or you could have this used by the public. So I think it's a very powerful way to get in at your data. And as I said, it's not to replace your GIS, but it's a way in at getting your data and giving it to the wider audience. So that's the planning portal from my perspective. I think I might hand you back over.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Thanks, Aaron. And so that was it. I've kept a lot of space in terms for questions at the end, because I'm sure there will be quite a few. So I just wanted to highlight a few things that are coming soon, just things to watch out for. So as you probably have seen on the FME forums, that FME 2017.1 has been delayed to mid-July, so we should have that in the next couple of weeks, which is brilliant. Our next webinar is on the 8th of August, and that is on a new simple map, which we have for Location Publisher. And then we have FME Advanced Training on the 22nd of August, so that will be closing soon, and I can see from a few of the people that are on the webinar that are already attending the course. And then finally, we have an FME and Python course coming up on the 26th of September as well. So if you're interested in any of these, they're up on our website, or you can just pop me an email if you want. So I'm going to, just to summarize on a few of the points that we had covered, because I know we probably went through the content probably a little bit too fast, but it gives you, the RD portal gives you the ability to empower citizens, clients and staff to self-serve using FME Server and FME Cloud. This was something that was a big requirement, I suppose, from getting feedback off the different councils. And it's about giving you as GIS officers or as data managers time back to actually focus on your day job and your value add, instead of having to run around and getting data in different formats for different people all the time. It's just a really, really simple way for them to give them access to the data. You can provide multiple instances. So as Simon had showed there, you can change the repository for one for roads, for example, one for planning, one for management, and there's loads of different ways it can be deployed, or one for the public. And then it's just that it's a fast and effective way to power the flow of data around your organization. And again, just giving you time back. So if I'm too shy to ask a question now, my email address is up there. And so is Simon's. If you have any questions, and our number to the office. So don't ever be afraid to pick up the phone, not that she's there, but if you just pick up the phone and give us a call or drop us an email, and we're happy to answer any of the questions for you. So I'm going to just fly into questions there just to see if anybody has any, and we'll do our best to answer them. Anything that we can't answer, we'll take away and we'll come back to you individually. Okay, there's a good few up here already. Okay, the first one's probably going to be you. I guess implementing on the public-facing server.
Okay, so this is Barry, I think, from yourself. So in regard to implementing on a public-facing web server for members of the public to access, what are the main considerations and differences to implementing internally? So I suppose there's a few ways you can skin it, Barry. One way is you could have your own cloud instance of FME Server. That might be palatable, but that's one way. So you could host the portal on a public-facing server, and you could have a cloud instance of server, and that's one way to do it. Another way is you could have obviously you need to have server, so you could have a instance of FME Server internally in your organization, and with a bit of sort of reverse proxy magic, you could, in theory, open up a way to call back into your FME Server instance from the public. So you could set up, for example, you could set up roscommoncoco.ie/FME portal, and when that gets called, it goes back to a server. That it's kind of reverse proxy where it will go back. Then it would make the call internally. Now you'd have to get your security team involved and all that to make sure that that's all set up properly. But that's one way to do it. So it's a little bit, obviously it's a little bit more complicated, but it's not overly complicated. I'd imagine you could probably get it set up in a couple of days. That's the kind of thing you'd be looking for in terms of getting all those kind of security, firewall, all the kind of magic sorted out. But it's definitely doable, Barry.
So next question, has it been deployed or implemented on a public-facing server? As of yes, no, it hasn't. We have done similar things before.
Well, I suppose the one that you're looking at there, that site is the site that you're looking at there that I demoed, guys. That's all sitting on a public-facing server. So that's a public-facing instance. The map portal is sitting on a public-facing server. Let's just call it server A. And the FME server instance that we're talking to is a cloud instance of FME server on Amazon. It's on Amazon. So so they're two public-facing servers talking to each other. Internally here in IMGS, I kind of had a demonstration one set up internally here where I could use a reverse proxy, but that's not something I could really give you guys access to. But the one you're looking at there that I showed you was all public-facing. If that helps.
Yeah.
So Barry, you're
flying in
with questions. Can a report with interactive mapping elements be delivered to members of the public, or is this element of report limited to internal users with access to FME server? No, I think, Barry, do you mean the interactive mapping bit that I showed there, the zooming in and zooming out? No, that's all. What happens is that's just with FME Desktop, you create your workspace and you do all your magic to say, look, here's my special areas of conservation, etc., etc., etc. You put a mapping out. I don't know what the name of the transformer is or the object is there, but you can create all that, and then when the output that you saw there in my demonstration, that's accessible by anybody. I could email you that, Barry, and you could see it, or you could be using it internally within the county council. You do need an internet connection. So they're not static maps. So you can see the way I zoomed in and zoomed out. It's assuming that you have an internet connection to show those maps. That's I suppose the only limitation there with that. I think that answers your question.
Anybody else have any questions?
Someone's popped up there.
Oh, lovely.
So
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's a good point. Barry just mentioned that that one of the main uses for this could be a pre-planning report. Absolutely. And the way we have it configured there, and I'd be willing to talk to anybody who's interested and do that. Like with not much work, you could make that the site launch. So the right-hand side is the part where you enter in the data. All that. I said all that is configurable. So you could have that as a pre-planning, but and immediately when you launch the site, you can see the map. You can see the right-hand side panel. So the user is in no doubt as to what they have to do. But obviously, then you have the planning report will come back. Now, an interesting thing would be, and this all goes back into the site's just a portal to let you in the door. But you're right, Barry. It could be me looking to look for some pre-planning in Roscommon. It could generate a report back and say, there you go, Simon, thanks very much. But it could also, the part of FME Server is you can also email someone in the planning department. It could, with the extent of the area that I've drawn. We did it for certain other customers when they were using other systems like AutoCAD. We would send them a DGN version of what the customer had drawn. You can send them a copy of the report. So then when I, Simon, member of the public, come in for a pre-planning meeting, you just take it out of your email and say, oh yeah, I can see you logged that on the 1st of whatever, and here's the details, and this is what you were told at the time. So it's definitely a way forward. Yeah.
Anybody else? No, I think that's it. Well, you have both my contact details and Simon's contact details if they're on screen, and sure, I'll pop around an email to everybody thanking me for coming to the webinar, and then again, just with access to the webinar once I put it live up on our website as well, so you can always go back and have a little look over it, or if you want to show anybody else within the organisation. And yeah, that's.
I think yeah, the portal is live 24/7, but the cloud instance is up from
9:30 in the morning to 3:30 in the morning.
Yes. So just if you want to look at it, guys, or if you want to play around with it, or if you want to show it to someone, 9:30 to 3:30.
Yeah,
is the time to do it.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Is that okay? Okay. Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks everybody for attending. Really, really appreciate it. Chat to you soon. Bye bye.